The biggest problem that I've been having with this 100 days of making comics, the fact that I didn't really plan out the story. I just kind of dive and jump right into drawing, and I'm realizing the wall that I'm hitting. So, hey, welcome back. This is Cetriya, Cetrya, and today I'm just gonna do one of my quick videos about the need to thumbnails and plan out your story. Um, Especially if you want to try to make it through this 100 days of making comics. I've found that it's very easy for me to, especially if I'm tired, to just draw what I already told myself to draw. So right now I'm just going to give you guys a quick couple of tips for coming up for your story, your comics, your manga, whatever, your webtoons, whatever, especially when you're trying to get yourself back into, or just starting to get yourself into a consistent routine. So let's dive right into it, shall we? So for the first tip, I would say is, especially if you're new to making comics or it's been a while since you made comics, to start out with something small. And it's very hard because you have the motivation to do like an epic, long, large story. But I will tell you, after a couple of years of just not doing that story or any epic long story, I found that I get myself a little boost of motivation when I actually complete something. So I've completed other stories before, but I decided that for this epic story to do a quick prelude and just, keep it short, keep it simple and whatnot. So I'm going to talk through my process. So as you can see here, let me go ahead and make it easier to see. Up the opacity here. As you can see here, I did like a bunch of just quick roughs, and I did it based on the page of two. So of course, how you fold and print your books, you start off on the left page, because if you pick up any book, what's the first page is that page. Usually they don't print on the inside, but if you want to, you can do that, I suppose. And for me, I decided to just mark it as a blank page and start off with a 2-page spread. Maybe I'll do like a quick illustration, or maybe if I want to do like an opening and sign my name or whatnot, if I were to print this out. And that's how I started. Right now with webtoons, it's the vertical format. So eventually I'm going to, cut it up and break it down to a vertical format, but this is specifically for pages. Afterwards, as you can see, I just do a quick rectangle of, the 2-page spread, split it down. You can see right here, split it down. Now, the second thing I will say that kind of bite me in the butt is the fact that, as good as these quick sketches are, and I can understand some of them, I spent too long in planning these quick thumbnails before I started the 100 days. So you could do it while you're doing 100 days because you're working on your comic. I did this maybe a couple of weeks before the 100 days. By the time I got to these scribbles, I have no idea what was going on in the story, which comes to why when I came back to it during the 100 days, I went ahead and clarified some of the later pages that I got started on and draw in a more clear fashion where if I come back to it a couple of days later, I understand what is going on. It's still a little bit unclear, but it's pretty obvious, what the pose is, what the shot is, what angle we're coming from, and things like that. So far we got that 2 things, right? You want to start out with your short story thumbnails, and you want to make your thumbnails clear, especially if you're not going to be jumping into the story immediately. So let's deep dive a little bit in explanation of just one of my page spreads as to why I set it up to this way. So let's go to the one that I was showing to you prior. Let's do this. And of course, I'm pretty new to this too, relatively. Even though I have some experience, it's not like I have like years and experience. I'm a super pro, but you got to start somewhere. And I figure since I'm closer to a beginner than I am to a professional, it might help understanding where I'm coming from for those who really are just like at the start of their comic making journey. So let's go ahead and explain a couple of shots here. So my pages are left to right, or read left to right. If you want to do right to left, that's up to you. I used to do right to left only because so much of my comic reading experience is manga, and you start to develop a visual library. So it's always good to go ahead and keep on reading the stuff that you like to read and just let it naturally comes up into your experiences. So here we have a full body establishing shot, because prior to that, you did not get to see the full body of the character. And how you show that out, it's up to you, but it helps to just establish, okay, this is what the character looked like, some background characters. And again, here, it's hard to tell, but let me see if I can change out color just to give you guys an understanding here. Here, we have another establishing of the backgrounds, and it's really quick, you know what I mean? Like some trees, just to get you a visual of where they are at. So obviously they're in some sort of foresty area. So now you know the location. So you got the full body of the character, you got the location, you got the angle. And now, because you've set up a bit of the background, who is who and what is what, you can start adding in more close-up shots of what's going on, some more background, maybe, you know, go from top to down view and things like that. Then the next page right here, just to show you, the next page, I go ahead and reestablish the shot. This case, this is a worm's eye view, so the bottom looking up, and more close-up of the characters, you know, some zoom in, some specific items perhaps that you want to focus on, whether it's her face or maybe an item. In this case, it's a butterfly, right? You know, that goes towards the story. And again, we kind of zoom out a little bit more and have a full establishment of the characters and the vastness of the luscious forest. All right. So let's explain why I pick the shots here. Other than the fact that you're establishing where you are, you've seen the full body character. Let's talk a little bit of what is known as the reading line or something like that. Since it's going left to right, I'm going to go ahead and show you what is the reading line, or other names to it, or like the flow, the visual flow. You know, your first visual is to look here to the left, go down, down, down. Nice and simple, easy to read. Because of this, when you're planning out your panels, so we're in part 4, I guess. The third part was what you're what scenes you're gonna draw. Part 4 is how you read out your panels. Something to take a note is I have the full body character, but then this panel right here and the second panel is marked this way. So the break is right here, right? The break is happening right here. In the next page over, to make the eyes not kind of like go across, I broke up the panel right here, almost like a step, right? That way the eyes still keep going down versus going just straight across. So an example of that would have been like, if I made the panels like this. You can see that already. It's a weird kind of sensation where you feel like, should I go this way? You know, should I go like this? Should I, you don't get a visual hierarchy of which, what's panel 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's much easier that when you're developing your panel and your pages, that you don't have panels going right across from each other in that manner. And again, you have panel number 3 right here. Okay. So this is what I call an invisible panel because there's like not a border here, but you get the gist. You have the break right here versus this break right here. You get it, the steps. And then this one broke right here versus this break right here. And that's basically what you want to keep in mind. So again, you establish your starts, you establish your characters, and you make sure that your panels don't read right across from each other. From then on, as you're reading, you're going to pick up more about these visuals, and there's more like visual aid and things like that. Some people may ask, like, how do you come up with dynamic panels? And again, depending on what you've been reading as you grow up, reading comics and whatnot, each comic artist does have their kind of style and spin on it. And at the end of the day, other than these basic rules, that's what I've noticed. They pretty much kept to that. There's more advanced way of paneling. I'm clearly not of that point, but I'm sure if you picked up any kind of comic. So I'm going to go ahead and pick up one of the mangas that I tend to read. Okay, and it's right to left, but you get the sense, like, it looks very dynamic because of what's actually drawn in the panels. But if you look really close, you have one panel here, then the second panel there, and then it's just another box panel, another box panel, another box panel. And then you can see where the break right here, this panel does not run right across. There's just that break right here between the two panels. It's nice and staggered. So that way you understand that, okay, I read like this, you know, like that. And then I come back up here and then read down. Nice and simple. So, you know, you could all, and of course, there's nothing wrong with just taking your favorite visual references, you know, 1, 2, very simple, right? 1, 2, down again, across, and down, across. Nice and simple. So hopefully, I hope that this was, you know, pretty helpful, pretty simple. It gets down to it, and it will definitely help for you to get through your 100 days of making comics. There are some other references that I'll go ahead and link to it. I'll even link to a couple of YouTube channels that have direct videos that speak on this a bit more that I found helpful. But, you know, from one beginner to another, I hope that you guys can actually, you know, be able to digest what I said. So yeah, this is part of the 100 days of making comics. Feel free to follow me in my journey in getting this story done and complete, despite me being tired and having such a couch potato mentality. So I'll see you next time in the next video. All the best. See ya.